But first, of course, we had the Premier make a major address this evening, and Peter Gay Combs, our journalist, is here with some of the major points, and we're going to have a brief discussion about that. Peter Gay, welcome to the spotlight.
Thank you, Edu Enka. Now, as you just said, Premier Dr. D. Orlando Smith spoke for about 21 minutes in a national address this evening, in which he sought to assure the country that his administration has its hands on the wheel and is doing everything in its power to keep the BVI economy afloat despite the challenges that are being experienced. He spoke specifically to the delay in the delivery of the 2017 budget.
This year, we will be submitting our budget somewhat later than is customary, likely in January. While a December budget is ideal, budgets may be submitted after that time, and indeed have been submitted by both sides of the aisle as late as April. We want to take our time in reviewing the allocations to the various programs that are carried on to ensure the most efficient use of government resources. And this includes developing a capital program. There are a number of critical decisions that have to be made on this front, and we don't want to make hasty judgments.
Now, the Premier also spoke to the issue of the global economic crisis of 2008, which he says continues to have ripple effects on the BVI economy as well as other economies within the region. Now, he says another issue that continues to impact the BVI and which the BVI is taking stringent efforts to keep up with is that of the backlash from developed nations, which are implementing more stringent measures on offshore financial jurisdictions.
Billions of dollars in fines were imposed upon these companies. Suddenly, the banks that do business here in the BVI were concerned not just about serving their customers and clients, but also about the risk in their operations. And some banks began exiting the region entirely. As a result of these challenges to the sector, in 2016, the revenue authority has taken in from our financial services industry has declined somewhat.
Now, the efforts to shore up the BVI's financial services industry, the Premier says, include a study, the results of which he will reveal when he delivers his 2017 budget address in January.
Earlier this year, we commissioned a study by Capital Economics out of the UK to determine the contribution that BVI financial services make to the global economy. The results of that study will be ready for the inclusion in my next budget address. No system is perfect. Indeed, no jurisdiction in the world could make that claim.
Now, while there was not much information on the issue of delayed payments to vendors from the government, the Premier also addressed the issue.
Timely payments to vendors for services rendered is an issue which is largely related to the manner in which revenue is received by government. We have now put systems in place so that vendors can be assured of timely payment for services rendered, that they too can meet their obligations.
Now, Edu Enka, it seems the Premier understands that while BVI landers will be concerned about the tough times that the economy is going through, he did seek to assure that while there will be belt-tightening measures, it will not impact projects that are already in train, such as education and health services.
Whatever belt-tightening we must do, it will not come at the expense of the common man and woman. We will not be cutting core services or reducing our investment in your children's schools, in your healthcare, in your roads or infrastructure, on helping grow your businesses and your economy.
Now, Edu Enka, in addition to the economy and where his administration plans to go regarding shoring up the economy, the Premier also addressed plans to broaden out and diversify the tourism industry. But of course, we can't cram that all into this tiny segment, and so we'll be delving more into that in ensuing newscasts.
Well, thank you very much, Peter Gay, for that synopsis, sort of the Premier's statement addressed to the territory this evening. And so quite a few interesting things the Premier is mentioning there, in my view, taking care to make sure that there are no unnecessary cuts in the programs, and that he spends the resources wisely. That's a good indication, I think, and perhaps you can say a rational judgment in delaying the budget, because there are a lot of things going on in the territory: road works, infrastructure for education, buildings, infrastructure for health care, the buildings in Virgin Gorda, the center in Virgin Gorda, medical center in Virgin Gorda. So there's a lot going on that big projects that I think would have to be taken into account, and perhaps in light of the completion of the Hare Park, perhaps want to be more careful in allocating resources and accounting for those resources. So that's good to hear. And of course, the fight to protect the reputation of the financial services sector. We know that there's been a global onslaught on overseas territories when it comes to offshore financing and the facilitation of capital flows and so on. And I guess the developed world has a different view of what we do here regarding financial services. So, and I know that the government has had to really spend a lot of money on marketing and helping to defend against some of the aspersions cast by international media. So those are good things. What I hope would have happened, if I may make this comment, is that we'd have got some data on the decline on financial services. What actually happened? What the decline was 10%, 5% over the last years. A comparison would have been helpful. The tourism sector, we know we just built a Hare Park. Cruise ships are coming left and right. We've been promised up to 1 million tourists annually. How we are with that, I would have liked to have heard some data on that as well. The line of credit is great news, I'm sure, for I'm calling it the line of credit, but the payments of the vendors, which will be facilitated through the $25 million line of credit, I'm sure is welcome news to vendors, because that has been a thorn in the government side for many years, and not just this government, but many governments. So, those are some very important points that the Premier has stated in his attempt to reassure the population that he's got, as you said, got his hands on the wheel. What is important, what I like the best is the fact that he's reiterated that there will be no cuts in social programs, whether it's in education, health, and other social development projects and infrastructure, that those are going ahead as planned. And so, I'm very glad to hear that, because usually, Peter Gay, when governments thinking about cutting back and streamlining their budgets, the first thing they seek to cut are the social services to the population.
Yes.
And so I'm happy to hear that there'll be no cuts, because certainly with all that's happening with our young people and crime and social challenges that we are having, domestic violence and all of the other issues, we need those social services not to be cut, but in fact to be additionally resourced, so that we could help to mitigate those social challenges that continue to develop. So all in all, I think the Premier made some good points. I would have liked to see, like I say, some more data, but I think it's good, and certainly you've did a fantastic job again in pointing out some of the main points. And of course, coming up during the week and in the next newscast, there are some other points that could be made as well in terms of strengthening the financial services sector, strengthening the tourism sector, and improving the income flows into the country to spur and sustain economic growth. Thank you for that report.
Thank you, Edjo Enka. What I can say is that our viewers can look forward to the rebroadcast of the Premier's national address tomorrow. That's Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. and also again on Thursday at 7:30 p.m. right here on JTV channel 55, as well as on demand on our YouTube channel.